Hi everyone. So we're doing 10.2, the second half of it, and we're going to be talking about pronouns. So, as a reminder, pronouns replace a noun, right? And a noun is a person, place, or thing. We have already talked about several pronouns, even way back in French 1. So some of those pronouns that we might be familiar with would be our subject pronouns. And those are je, tu, il, elle, on, ce, nous, vous, and il and elle, plural. The next thing that we're going to be talking about, instead of subject pronouns, is going to be object pronouns. So I want to quick discuss what the difference is here between a subject and an object. Every sentence in French needs to have at least one subject. So the subject is the agent doing the verb, doing the action. Okay, so something like je mange. That can be a complete sentence. I'm eating. Je mange. Okay? I have a subject pronoun, then I have my verb. But let's say that I wanted to add what it is that I'm eating. So I would add, for example, je mange un croissant. Okay? The croissant is my object. This is my subject of my sentence, and this is my object. Okay? The object often is, like I said, a noun, so a person, place, or thing. But let's say that I was already in a discussion where we were clearly talking about croissants. I wouldn't have to say croissant, croissant, croissant every single time I'm referring to one. I might start saying it. Or if I had multiple croissants, I might saying them. Okay? So that's what we're going to be talking about, is when we have an object of a sentence, you're going to find it over here, not where the subject is, and it's going to get replaced usually with something like it. Okay? So object pronoun tends to be it, although it can also be people. Okay? Like me, you, sorry, not he or she, but him, her, us, y'all or you, and them. Okay, so those are as people. So when we're doing this as people, I'm going to kind of line this up as a big triangle. And as we get further on in the semester, you'll see why I'm doing the big triangle. So the first one I'm going to do is going to be instead of the subject, I'm going to doing the object pronouns. Me, te, ce. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take out ce for now. Nous and vous. So when I'm saying, for example, he loves, and the idea of me. I put it in quotes because grammatically I can't really do that. I'm going to replace me, or the idea of moi, with me. I'm going to put it in my sentence before my verb. So now I have il, me, and m, and then I have to watch out for vowels. So now it's m apostrophe. Il m'aime. He loves me. We might be familiar with this when we see je and m and the idea of toi. Toi would get replaced and it would become te, which means you. I would put it in before my verb. So now I have je, te, m. Of course, I've got a vowel problem. So I'm going to take off that e, replace it with an apostrophe. Je t'aime. So that one looks probably pretty familiar. Same thing for nous and vous. If I wanted to say maybe they love the idea here as nous. They love us. I'm going to replace that with nous. I'm going to put it in my sentence before my verb. Il nous aime. And put a period there. So I'm actually crossing out every single time. I'm crossing out what is representative here. Finally, same thing for vous. Let's say that it was they love y'all. Okay, the idea of y'all would be vous. It gets replaced with vous and it will go inside. Elle vous aime. So with people, it's usually pretty straightforward. Anything that has moi in it is either going to get replaced as a pronoun as either me or as nous. Nous happens when it's really standing in for moi plus another person. When you have something standing in where the underlying thing that's getting replaced is toi, you're either getting it replaced straight up with te, if it's just you, or it's replacing vous, which is really standing in for you and another person. Okay? Now you may have noticed here that we have not talked at all about how to do him or her. That's because that's going to be in the next section up here in the triangle. The next section is le, la, les. Just like my me can be M apostrophe, my te can be T apostrophe, my le and my la can also be L apostrophe. Okay? So le, la, and les here stands in for people the way that me, te, nous, vous, and me, te, nous, vous stand in for people. So instead of saying I love you, instead of saying I love you, let's say that I'm talking about the person that I'm in love with or that I'd like. I'm going to say, maybe for an example, I would say, I love Sarah. Okay? Or I love Tom. Or I love the children. Oops. Try French, L'Oreal. Okay? These are all third-person people, namely it's not me and it's not you, the person to whom I'm speaking. Sarah, she, would be replaced with la. Tom, masculine, would get replaced with le. Les enfants, plural, would get replaced with les. Any single one of these I'm going to place right here before my verb. In the case of je la aime, my vowel problem makes it such that I put an apostrophe, je l'aime. The masculine would be je le aime, I love him, becomes an apostrophe. So you'll notice that here, these would be identical when you actually fill out your sentence as a final thing. Je l'aime and je l'aime, both the same. Les enfants, plural, je les aime, I love them. I can't have a vowel problem here because I have a consonant, but I will do my little liaison here for pronunciation. Okay? So le, la, and les can stand in for people. They can also stand in for objects. So instead of saying, I like Sarah, maybe I had a feminine object, like, I like the poster. L'affiche is a feminine object. Or I like, I like the class, le cours. Or maybe it's a plural thing. I like the flowers. Okay. When you replace these, you can tell it's quite obvious because these already start with le, la, and les. So I can replace this with la, this would become le, and this would become les. And of course I would still put them in right here. And you'd end up with the same sentences as these three above. Because pronouns require it that you would already be discussing these specific nouns in a dialogue, and therefore you're making them into pronouns in order to save yourself time. So in the conversation, it's already clear what you're talking about. Okay? So a little bit more on le laler here. Instead of saying l'affiche, I could have replaced it with cette affiche. I like this poster. The set here doesn't matter. It's still just is important that this is a feminine singular object. This would become la still. Instead of saying secours, it could have been, instead of le cours, it could have been secours. I like this class. This would still become le. Instead of the flowers, it could have been these flowers, ces fleurs. It would still become les. And I have another one for you. Cet ordinateur, this computer. This only happens because it's a masculine object. It starts with a vowel, therefore you liaison. But cet ordinateur would still also become le. So whatever your underlined thing is, even if it's not le la le in the beginning, it could have ce, cet, cette, ces. Or it could even be one of your possessive adjectives. I like my poster. The mon here it looks like masculine even though this is feminine simply because of the vowel problem. So I had to change it to that. Or it could have been mon cours. Or it could have been mes fleurs. Okay? And similarly, so mon, this would still become la, this would become le, this would become les. Similarly, instead of using mon, ma, mes, of course, your first word could have been ton, ta, te, son, sa, se. And the plural forms is, notre and nos, votre and vos, and leur and leur. So even if your underlined portion, your underlined object starts with any of these, it's not important who owns the object. Just because it's my poster doesn't mean it's not a poster. It's still it. So anything that is mon, ton, son, plus the underlined thing, these are all going to become le. Ma, ta, sa will become la. Mes, tes, ses will still become les. Notre, votre, and leur will either become le or la, depending on the gender of the item. And nos, vos, leur will all become les. Okay, so don't let yourself get confused with possessive adjectives just because the person who owns it links to a person and it kind of makes you think, oh, I should replace mon, ma, mes or something with me. Nope, you don't want to do that. Ton, ta, te doesn't mean you replace it with te. Okay, just because you own it doesn't mean that that thing is you. Okay, so what I'm going to have you guys do in class is these two exercises. The first one, de quoi parle-t-il? Vous êtes dans un café parisien et vous entendez les phrases suivantes. Trouvez dans la colonne de droite l'information qui correspond à chaque pronom. So they've given you here sentences on the left that already have a pronoun in them. You'll notice that they in general go before the first verb, although sometimes they do not. We will talk about that. So here we go. We have je vais les poster cet après-midi. What on the right-hand column could that have been? I know les is standing in for a plural thing, so it would either be les lettres or it would be les timbres. Context clues would help you do that. So identify where your pronouns are first, and then link it up and match it with A through F to decide what is the thing that was actually being replaced. The second exercise that I'll have you do is to exercise C. This one is giving you an infinitive verb and something that you're going to turn into a pronoun. So you'll look for the verb first, and then you'll say, okay, what is this? What is the object that I'm going to be replacing? In this case, étudier le français is my object. So I'm going to not so much follow this this model. I'm going to have you do number 1 with je, number 2 with tu, 3 is with il, 4 is with nous, 5 is with vous, and 6 is with elle. So you'll conjugate your verb in present first, and then you'll find the thing that's getting replaced and you'll put it in. So if I was going to do, for example, étudier with je, I would first conjugate my verb, étudie, le français, cette année, I look at this and I say, okay, this is my object, right? This is my subject, this is my verb, this is my object. Le français is going to get replaced with what? Me, te, nous, vous, or le, l'allez. Le français will get replaced with le. I will move it in before my verb. Je, L apostrophe because of the vowel. L'étudie, cette année. I'm studying it this year. Okay, so it would be great if you guys, before coming to class, could actually try and do these two exercises, and then with your partner, you'll share your responses, and we will move on from there with more exercises.